All this global debt, does it even matter? What happens if it all gets defaulted on? What about the marijuana industry? Is that the next hot place to get into? And is Bitcoin still a risky investment? Those are a couple questions that we're going to answer today, so stay tuned. All right, welcome back for another question and answer video series that I do each and every Monday. I take questions that you leave on these videos and other videos and I answer them for you. You know, if your question is picked, you get $10 in free Bitcoin. And if your question is the question of the week, you get $50 in free Bitcoin. So make sure to leave your questions down below on any of the videos that I do, and hopefully you get picked and you make some money. Now, one, you have to be subscribed to the channel, and two, you have to message me to claim your Bitcoin. I'm not gonna chase you down. So when you message me to claim your Bitcoin, make sure to send me proof that you are subscribed to the channel. Just a screenshot will do. First of all, the winner for last week was Frank Vandergeef. And Frank said that I talk a lot about Bitcoin being in between a collectible and a store of value. For it to become a store of value, it has to become stable. But I also heard you talking about 100 trillion market potential in the wealth transfer series. If you haven't seen the wealth transfer series, I recommend it. We'll put the link up there. How can an asset that potentially could grow so much ever be stable? If you want to know the answer to that question, go back and watch last week's question and answer video. But Frank, if you're watching this, make sure to send me proof you're subscribed to the channel and claim your free Bitcoin. All right, don't leave that money on the table. Now let's get into some new questions. Before we get into the new questions for this week, I want to just bring something up. I am doing a live presentation with some really, really big information I'm super excited to share. I haven't really done a live presentation for quite a while, and there's a couple big things that I've uncovered. One is this massive conspiracy, and really, if you understand the conspiracy that's happened and how it's unfolding, it's gonna change your outlook on the entire industry. It's gonna be done on a live presentation. I'm gonna put the link down below. It's free. I'd love for you to join. So to go down and click on the link below to join this presentation that I'm gonna do. Like I said, it's one of the only live presentations I've done for quite a while, and I'm gonna cover a lot of information. It's gonna be awesome. I haven't gone over this before, so hopefully you'll join me for that. Click on the link below for that live presentation. All right, now getting back into the question and answers. The first question is from John Medeiros, and he says, all this talk about global debt, what does it mean? What if all the countries default on it? What happens then? Does all the debt just get wiped out? So why all the worry? Governments just print money as needed. All right, John, great question. So let's take a look at this. So talked about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of global debt. What does it mean? If all the countries default on it, what happens? Well, does it just get wiped out? Yes, it does. Why all the worry? Well, if someone owed you a bunch of money and they defaulted on it, you would probably worry, right? So what happens is if someone owes me money, that's an asset on my books. And when I have an asset on my books, that affects a lot of things. For example, that affects my borrowing. So if I have a lot of assets, then people are willing to loan me money. But if all those loans get wiped out, defaulted on, and I lose those assets, now people don't want to loan me money, and people that have loaned me money might want me to bring additional assets in to bring those margins back up. If all the countries default, all the people that loan to them are going to be wrecked. People buy bonds. So the way that a government borrows money is they issue bonds. I recommend to buy bonds. Government bonds are a great way to protect yourself in time of crisis. And so if you own bonds and the government defaults on those, you care. It messes up the entire financial system. It messes up the entire credit system. If you remember back to like 2008, the financial collapse, it basically stopped all the credit markets. There was no credit available, no credits to buy houses, no credit to buy cars. The world runs on debt. For the last 50 years, we've seen the greatest debt expansion that the world's ever seen, and I don't think it's a good thing. But to cut it off abruptly, to have all the global debt implode and just be wiped out to zero, everyone would have devastating losses. It would shut down the whole global economy, and it would be really, really bad. The next question we have is from Ryan McFarlane. And Ryan says, what is your stance on the marijuana industry and the slow legalization of it? Is that a new trend you follow and invest in? Yeah, you know, the fact that marijuana is becoming legalized is definitely something new. It's definitely a new trend. We're starting to see a ton of medical applications of it. We're starting to see, obviously, there's recreational aspects of it as well. And you know, it's been around for a long time. It's not like a new technology. It's a plant, right? It's been around forever. But because of the legalization, it's opening up all types of opportunities in the manufacturing, the storage, all types of things in the medicine, etc. And it is something that I've been following. As you guys know, I invest into lots of areas. It's not one of the new technologies. So I talk a lot about technological revolutions are the greatest wealth transfers that we'll ever see. So this doesn't really fall into that category. However, it is a massive trend. There is a ton of opportunities to make money, and it's something you should all be paying attention to. All right, next question is from Michael Gambino. And Michael says, at what point do you feel Bitcoin will no longer be considered such a risky investment? All investments are risky. So at what point does an investment become not risky? Never, right? The whole point, you're giving money away, hoping to get something back in return. That's risky. There's no such thing as like risky or not risky. Really, it's like, I guess, more risky or less risky. For an asset to become less risky, it has to mature and has to take that risk away. But the downside to that is it's going to limit your return potential. So for example, buying US Treasuries is maybe one of the safest investments that you could make. Basically, you're giving money to the United States government and you're expecting them to pay you back with a little bit of interest. You're going to get a couple percent interest. So it's probably the least risky because at this point, the US government is probably the most trusted borrower. And so you have a very high chance of them paying back, right? So the risk is very low. However, so is the return. You get about 2%. Risk and reward are always going to be balanced out. If you want to invest into a brand new cryptocurrency, for example, it's super risky. The chance of that not returning anything is very high. However, the reward is also high. We've seen cryptocurrencies return 20,000, 30,000, 50,000% returns, which is just unbelievable. A few positions in my portfolio last year returned over 30, 40,000%. It's unbelievable. But the risk is also super high. So at what point does it become, is it no longer a risky investment? I mean, that's going to be a long time. I mean, it's always going to be a risky investment. All investments are risky, but the more adoption that we see, the more the risk will go down, and so will the return. Next question, think outside the blocks. Great stuff, Mark. Will the seemingly endless QE, quantitative easing, do you see precious metals or cryptos being the bigger sponge that soaks up inflation? Good question. So the precious metals market, particularly the gold market, is a great place to go to protect yourself from inflation. It's a chaos hedge. If the government prints a ton of money and we get all this inflation, golds will do really good. Because cryptos like Bitcoin is kind of the same thing. It's hard sound money and people might buy that to protect themselves from inflation. So the question is, with the government continuing to print money through quantitative easing, will precious metals, gold, or crypto like Bitcoin be a bigger sponge? Which one will soak it up more? The gold market is about $8 trillion, and Bitcoin is about 60 billion. So 60 billion, 8 trillion. I mean, it's like a pea compared to like, a giant beach ball. Gold's been around for 5,000 years, or it's been a trusted, money source for 5,000 years, store value for 5,000 years. Bitcoin's been around 10 years. Definitely gold is going to be the bigger beneficiary of it. We're already starting to see that. We're starting to see massive central banks buying gold. I did a video on that. We'll put the link up above. If you haven't seen that gold video, you definitely should. Protecting themselves from this inflation that's coming. I don't think central banks are buying Bitcoin yet. So I do think that Bitcoin will be a massive beneficiary of this, but in this first kind of crash that we'll see coming, gold will be the bigger beneficiary, and maybe it will take a couple bubbles and crashes before Bitcoin kind of starts to take its place. So gold for now, that's my answer. All right, so that's it. Those are the questions for this week. Hopefully you've enjoyed those. Go ahead and leave me comments down below this video or any other video that I do. If I pick your question, you get 10 bucks. If it's the question of the week, you get 50. So make sure to leave your questions. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. That's the only rule. Don't miss the live presentation I'm doing on Thursday. Check out the link down below. You don't want to miss it. I'm going to go over some really, really big stuff. I'm excited to share that with you guys. So that's it. That's the question and answer for this week. To your success. I'm out.